Hi guys, welcome to the Last Set Podcast, episode 146. Joining me for today's guest, he's a personal trainer, online coach, and competitor, currently 4 weeks out from his next competition. He took time out of his busy schedule to join me live at the Hen House Rehearsal Studio. Please welcome Josh Birch. What's going on, brother?
Hello, how are we?
I'm doing really well. It's great to finally have you in here because we've been back and forth for quite some time.
Yeah, it's been like maybe 2 months since maybe we originally messaged, and then it's just been busy schedule. Obviously, like the original Father's Day plan was there, and then that was just not planned properly on either end. And then you went away on holiday, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Bali for the first time.
How was it? I've never been either.
Yeah, dude, if you're someone who has a very open mind and then you go to Bali and then you look at what these people have and what they work for,
yeah,
it changes your perspective.
Really, hey?
Like these people, here's the thing I'm always telling about, especially in Perth and Australia, also in America, everyone's trying to like one up each other when you meet them. Everyone's trying so hard to impress each other and they have like this fake niceness.
Yeah.
But you go to Bali, people are like...
It's a good topic, by the way.
Yeah, it is true. But you go to Bali, like someone will have a job working in a restaurant. That person is so happy just to have a job.
Yeah, just genuine.
Yeah, and I also didn't know this as well, but the currency in Balinese currency is rupee.
Yep.
And $1 is to 1,000
Yep.
rupee. So $10 equals 10,000. $10 equals 100,000.
Yep.
Fuck.
On the fly now.
Yeah. Oh god. Trust me, I struggled there as well. But the highest note that they have is pretty much like a $10 note.
Yeah.
And then 100,000. I was giving out tips to waiters because I really appreciate their service.
Of course.
But you give them that red note, it's like that's their
Life changing, yeah.
Yeah, it's that I've had one person almost like break down into tears, and it was that. And I came back and I was like getting coffee down there, and then the waitress was like being last. I was like, someone needs to go to Bali. You know, you'll value what you have.
I think so. Like I've been to Thailand before. It's quite a while ago now, but I can imagine like for me, like I feel like people, I feel like Australians flock to Bali because it's cheap and they abuse it, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But where for me, like in my eyes, obviously I haven't been, I'd like to go maybe some point next year. But it's got to be very similar to something like Thailand, I can imagine. And yeah, like I agree with you. It's just very like everyone's very, for the most part, very genuine and just happy to be doing their own thing.
That is true. When I was there, actually rolling into the country, I thought about my time because I've also been to Thailand as well a couple of times. So I thought it was going to be it is similar, but in a way, Bali's, I feel like they're more business orientated. When I was in Thailand, I remember it was a lot more party orientated.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of prostitution.
Yeah.
Like people, they're just walking they're girls or guys just walking the streets. But I was trying to kind of preparing myself for that because obviously this is the first time I've ever traveled with my girlfriend.
Yeah, you can imagine it'd be something similar, yeah.
And there wasn't any of that.
Wow, really?
None of that at all.
Because I do remember a lot of that from Thailand as well. And I wasn't even in Bangkok. I spent my time in Thailand in Phuket, and it was very much like that, so...
Yeah, you go down that strip and then everyone's trying to sell you to a strip club.
Yeah.
Nah,
even if you're like 14 years old, it's really bad.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you got a competition coming up in 4 weeks, man. Let's dive into this. So
26 days out.
26 days out. How you feeling right now?
Physically, feeling a bit beat up as expected, but mentally, man, I'm having a few conversations with just some people this week. And I think mentally, it's such a weird thing, but like my mental health is probably in the best spot it's ever been in its life.
Wow.
And I think that's probably like a weird thing for like someone 4 weeks out to say. Because obviously like so much can happen and the littlest things often are the biggest things for a lot of people. But I think I just feel very aligned in my life now. I think aligned is the word that I've been using these past few weeks. And everything in my life just feels like it's on the path that it needs to be. Just even outside of this competition as well with work and my business and stuff. And just how I feel as a person. Like as a genuine person, not the bodybuilder Josh, but like the person Josh. And it's very good. So I'm very good. I feel great. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. So you don't mind me asking, how old are you, bro?
I'm 23. Yeah.
Holy
I know. I look 27.
Dude, you're younger than me. I just turned 24. When's your birthday then?
21st June.
21st. Oh,
99, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, I got to say, you sound incredibly mature for someone like that. But
I appreciate that.
I get where you're coming from, because this isn't your first competition as well, is it?
It is, but it's my third prep.
Okay. That's
Thank you for the C word.
Yeah.
It's the C word.
Okay,
that's been around for a few years.
But that's important though, because I've had so many bodybuilders and people in the PT industry come on the podcast, and they tell me the hardest thing for them was always the mental side when it came to getting ready, because it's, for a lot of them, it's the first time they've ever gone on a cut.
Yep.
So I've always said, I obviously haven't done any bodybuilding or anything like that, but I would assume you want to go on a couple of mini cuts first before you take the whole thing. So it's like going into a competition, it's like a marathon, and then a mini cut's like a half marathon or a 12K run. So you're accustomed to it.
Yep.
But the ones who truly, truly enjoy the sport are not the ones who just want to look good on stage, of course, for photos.
Yep.
Those are the ones that stick with it.
Yep.
Do you feel that way?
100%. Yeah, this is definitely the path I want to go forward with my life. And I think that's my actions match my words as well. Like this being the third prep almost consecutively now. And the first one's obviously eventuating into a competition. I started the first prep end of 2020 for beginning of last year. And that got to 4 weeks out. I think that got to like 31 days out or something, and then it was cancelled because of everything that was going on in the world.
Oh, okay. Now this makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
A lot of the other shows went on, but IFBB kind of they're the main shows, obviously, and they got cancelled. And then I was in prep for season A this year. So I did a very, very quick off season, and it wasn't enough time. It was almost like a race to kill the appetite kind of thing. Put on as much leg size as you possibly can in 3-4 months and then diet again. And that's what we did. And then I was in prep there, and I got to 12 weeks out, and I was extremely lean for 12 weeks out. I almost looked like 6 weeks out. It was not a good spot to be in. And I had a few health issues and personal issues that I needed to address. So I'd end up pulling out of that comp. And that was for the best. I then went into another off season, a proper off season. It was a lot more structured. Obviously had a lot more knowledge at that point as well. And then started to prep in May, and here we are.
Oh, and the competition that you're heading to is IFBB?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and it's going to be for Classic Physique.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who actually don't know what this is we're talking about, what are the parameters of Classic Physique, and what are they in line with that federation as well?
So with IFBB, obviously, for me, like the IFBB would be the highest standard of bodybuilding, right? Because you look at someone like, for example, I feel like the easiest example to use these days is going to be like someone like Chris Bumstead, right? So run with the IFBB, like that's that's the path that leads to the Olympia for the best of the best, and that's kind of everyone that competes in the IFBB would be obviously gunning for that, you know, that top kind of echelon. So Classic Physique is one of the 4 main categories as an amateur 3. So you've got like men's physique, which is the board shorts. And then we have the Classic Physique or Classic Bodybuilding, kind of depending who you ask. And then you have open bodybuilding. Classic Physique would be, I guess, somewhere in the middle where they're still doing all the bodybuilding poses. You obviously can show your legs. The trunks are slightly different, but it has a little bit more emphasis on the presentation of your physique and the presentation of yourself as well. So they still want someone that's that looks after themselves and looks like they look after themselves in terms of like quote unquote prettiness almost. On stage and just looks good in general and just presents themselves in a way that is very much like, I guess the category kind of came around to kind of emulate that Arnold era, right?
Yeah.
Similarly to that, obviously a little bit different, quite a bit different realistically, but kind of similarly to that and presenting themselves in that way.
Well, I remember when the Classic Physique first came around, how there was actually like a massive, there was actually a lot of starving for it.
Yeah, 100%. It still is, man. It's crazy. I think at the Olympia this year, there's like 70-something Classic Physique competitors.
Oh,
which is huge at the Olympia as well. Like that's obviously like best of the best.
And I remember when everyone was like glorifying of the days, you know, like Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, and you know, and then it became the Kai Green and Phil Heath, and that really exploded it. But since then, I argue that it's gone down a little bit, because if you look at the I don't know who them are, but who the top open bodybuilders are
Yeah.
right now, but it'll be hard to name unless you're a super diehard fan. But right now, everybody's hearing about the Classic Physique guys. Everyone's talking about Chris Bumstead. He's become a cultural icon right
That's
now.
the thing as well. He's a lot more mainstream as well. And I think obviously him being a part of Gymshark probably definitely helped with that, because obviously Gymshark is such a brand that someone who doesn't even know anything about bodybuilding, you would see them wearing a Gymshark shorts in the gym, right? So it just makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's correct. And the fact that also, like, I felt like where we're going in terms of culture, like before then, people were always talking about the golden era.
Yep.
And then they entered it, and then they actually introduced it, because what happened was with the physique over the years, those guys got even bigger.
Of course, yeah.
And then someone made the argument, oh, they're just like open bodybuilders from the top half, from the top.
We need something in between, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then is it true, like in Classic Physique, there's more like physical parameters, like you can't weigh a certain way if you're a certain height?
Yep, correct. So they have height categories, height to weight categories, and then certain jumps will be, you can't weigh more than a certain, you can't weigh more than obviously a certain parameter. So I think for my height, I think I can be like, I'm on the border of whether I can be like 89 or 93 kilos. So I'm obviously hoping they height me in as taller, so then in the future I have more room to grow. But it kind of matches so that like everyone, let's say there's 5 different competitors all at different weight caps, it kind of matches so that that muscle kind of looks very similar on their frame regardless. So no one's outsized.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Do you have to follow any certain parameters for yourself right now, or is it sort of a bit more open for IFBB?
Yeah, so with IFBB, like I said, you do have the height to weight requirements. This year I'll be under it, so I'm not stressed about it. I can kind of like say like the next time I compete, I'd plan to be kind of struggling to hit that weight cap, which is obviously what I want, and making sure that I'm kind of really sucking down for it. But this year, it would be one of them things where it's not something I need to worry about. I'm quite a few kilos under.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
I mean, yeah.
What about the whole like sort of like posing situation? So how does that posing situation differ from the open?
I don't think it differs largely in terms of your mandatory poses. I think the only ones that you don't do in Classic would be most muscular, side tricep, and front lat spread. I think front lat spread should be in Classic, by the way. Not only because it's my best pose, and that's the photos that I'm always posting.
Not even that, but that's also the one that to me always were the most impressive.
Right? It just shows everything. You can't hide.
Exactly. Well, it shows that wideness.
Yeah.
And I always thought about when it came to Classic, they want that you know,
the
that
V-taper.
Yeah. And they want to make sure they can show that section off.
Yeah.
And then it also makes your waist look smaller as
100%,
well. And
yeah.
I thought that's what they were looking for.
Yeah, so that's obviously the difference. And then the posing routines are pretty similar. I think like open guys, I think are taking a little bit more pride at the top level anyway, taking a little bit more pride in their posing routines now just because people want to see it. And people would just want to see the bodybuilders present their physiques in a proper way.
Well, it is part, I would say, I've been told it is half entertainment, half sport.
It's
because
a really tough argument.
Yeah.
And I'm on the fence about it. It's hard because I think bodybuilders, right, you don't have off time. If you're an NBA player, you have an off season where these top guys like LeBron and all that kind of stuff, they will take time away from the basketball. They'll take months and months away from the basketball and they can come back and still be better than ever. A bodybuilder, if I take 6 months off from the gym, like it's going to take me 6 months to get back to where I left, you know what I mean? Let alone improve. So I think like in that respect, I think you're an athlete and I think it makes that a sport because you have to be on your shit all the time. But then I think when it actually comes to the stage, like in the least disrespectful way as possible, but I'm also like, I'm obviously a part of it. It's almost more like a beauty pageant kind of thing.
Yeah,
in essence, you know what I mean?
It is like it, but that's okay. It doesn't
100%.
People need to understand and embrace that sort of, because I've had a lot of fighters on the podcast, and sometimes they've criticized it and been like, "How can you judge it? It's not it's not fighting. How can you pit against each other?"
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, but that's what they're looking for. Sometimes it's a very subjective sport. Like, what do you like, apples or oranges?
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, it's those people, this is what they love to do. This is what they live to do. And I've said this time and time again, but if you ever want to be successful in anything, I say live like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Or live like you're getting ready for a competition, because
Just
they're paying.
monotonous.
Exactly, yeah. They're paying attention to fucking sleep, how much they're eating, who they're hanging out with, where they're spending their time. And if you apply just those parameters to, let's say, building a business, like you're worried about what you do, what you eat, what 100%. You sleep, then you
get very far in life.
You can get very far in life. So I feel like there's a lot that mainstream can live about. And the other thing is, they talk about it's putting a It's putting a negative light on health and fitness because they're getting down to such low body fat.
Yep.
But then I say, well, that's the point. That's the whole point of it.
No one's saying it's healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's out here claiming that it's the healthiest sport in the world. It's definitely not.
And it's not an excuse not to be trying to get at least healthy. Like,
100%.
Wait.
You always get them ones.
Yeah, because I'm also glad you brought that up as well, because obviously you being a PT and all that. So how do you sort of, where I'm trying to go with this is the concept of image.
Yep.
And this day and age, we are becoming so involved in this aesthetic of everything.
Yep.
So when you have like a new client coming along and they say something along the lines of, okay, I want to just get a bigger bum or get some abs or something like that, that's a focus, or do you try and shift their focus onto something a little bit more realistic so they're not too caught up on that?
I think to, I don't want to say grab that the client's attention, but to kind of, obviously people are going to see result, especially if they're first time in the gym. Obviously, you know this, of course, as well. Obviously, a client first time in the gym, they've never been in the gym before, they're going to see results very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. If they're with you for a certain period of months, however long that may be, then results may slow down a little bit, right? As they get a little bit more intermediate in the gym and not beginner, then results and their muscle gain, et cetera, is going to slowly come down. I think you have to educate that client on the whole process of it and understanding that progress isn't just abs. Exactly. It isn't just like gaining muscle on your ass. It's the hundreds of other things that you're doing in the gym. It's the 1 kilo extra that you lifted this week compared to last week. It's the holy shit, I actually slept 8 hours last night instead of 5. It's everything outside of that as well. And it's the domino effect that looking after yourself has on everything else in your life.
True. So in terms of that, when you're going for a new client, is that something you tend to focus on as well? Do you ask them like, okay, how are you sleeping?
Of course, yeah.
How are you eating?
Yeah, their check-in forms are quite, there's a lot in there.
I know, but I did that as well.
I'm an asshole with it, like in the best way possible though, and it's obviously just because we care, right? Like, you get the clients that just want to give you the bare minimum check-ins and send you photos with no context, and that's it, and you get them. But I think it's very important, and the ones that want to see results and the ones that actually want to progress will, give you all the information. They'll annoy you. They'll give you all the information in the world, but that's what we love, right? I'd rather an annoying client that's messaging me all the time asking to make sure this is correct and this is correct than the one that's not, because I know that the one that's going to get progress and make progress and understand the process of it all is going to be the one that's asking all the questions. Well,
again, at the end of the day, that's also the best type of client in my books, because
agreed,
they're the ones who are also willing to learn.
Yep.
One of the things that I know, this is well personally in my life, but when you get the people that think they know it all, or that, or they're just too focused solely on one thing.
Yep.
So I'll say, for example, I had this one client, he was so focused on just losing belly fat.
Yeah.
Okay. He didn't care about anything else.
Yep.
But every time every time he would see me, he's like, this isn't working. I'm not losing belly fat. But I'll be like, hold on a second. Your legs are stronger.
Yeah.
Your arms are stronger. Your posture's better.
Put things into perspective, yeah.
And it was just that one thing the whole time. And then...
Did you get fixated on it?
You can't. You get those people that just focus on that one thing. Everything else good that comes around it, unless it's not that one thing that they want, they're not happy.
I agree.
And they can be stubborn. Compared to another guy, he came to me and said that, okay, I wanted to fix. He said he was having back pain. A lot of the things I like to deal with. I love to deal with people who are dealing with like back pain, neck pain, hip pain, shoulders, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So prehabbing, all that. And then along the lines of fixing his back pain, he's telling me he already started seeing like strengthen his legs, his
Yeah.
bench went up, and he was able to bench without shoulder pain. And that was the main thing from him as well. And he just forgot all about it, and then he just focused on getting everything a little bit better.
Yep.
But because he was so observant of what was getting better, of course, he was much, much older as well. He got a tremendous amount of benefit out of that. So really, it's what they actually enjoy. What's the best part? When they understand that progress is progress.
Yeah.
That's the best part. And anyway, so just moving on from there, you also do online coaching as well.
Correct.
Now, I've been heavily critical of online coaching in the past because I've always felt like it's a privilege, not a right to a lot of it. And what I mean by that is people who have just trained. They don't have any qualifications.
Yeah.
They don't have anything, degrees or anything to back up to it.
Yeah.
And then they just skip straight to online.
Of course, yeah.
And it's absolutely plagued
I agree.
this industry.
Yeah.
I've always believed there should be certain parameters you should be able to do first before you go online. Do you agree with that? Or do
I
you
absolutely
have
agree with that for sure. I've been in the industry since the year after I finished school, so I'll say like end of 2017, and it's only been something that I've kind of opened up the past year.
Well, I'll shake my hand, dude. I'm so fucking proud of you.
Do you know what I mean? But it's one of them things that I agree with you. You get them people who are just like, oh, I want to be an online coach, so I'm going to do a 12-week so-and-so course.
Oh, you're speaking my love language, dog.
So-and-so course, and then and do an open online coaching because I have 5,000 followers.
Yeah, I did one of those fucking courses. I did one of those courses for the benefit of learning.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you a little backstory. So I've been coaching now for 2.5 years.
Yep.
When I hit that 2-year mark, I said to myself, I feel like I should just learn a little bit, you know, because people were coming for me asking for online coaching, but I said I don't do it.
Yeah.
Mainly because I was scared of the idea that this is something, again, you have to earn the right to do. I feel like you should be already a good coach, but you can start from scratch or make a mess of it and learn along the way. But these people, they're too obsessed with, like, the people with these courses, they're so obsessed with money, and money is like the big one. Yeah. And that's how they suck people in. Like, make 10K a month in 30 days. Yeah. If anyone told me that was absolute horse bollocks.
Yeah, I agree. I struggle with them courses as well. And I think the social media courses, like, some of them can be great, but I also think it's the learning process as well. And your social media is only going to grow as fast as it's going to grow.
Exactly.
And it's going to be, I'm sure, like, putting out certain information and doing certain things are going to probably get you to gain a little bit of traction faster. But one thing I think I see a lot of in the Australian fitness industry is it all looks the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, it all just looks very similar. Like, you look at one person's account, it doesn't look too dissimilar from the next person's account that's doing a similar thing.
Okay, I'm trying to put my idea into their head. Like, when you say similar, like, what do they all have?
It all just seems like the same kind of process.
Oh, you mean like an Instagram bio?
There's no personality yet.
Ah, okay.
And that's what I struggle with as well. It's just like, I do agree that people, like, a coach should be giving out advice and, like, I shouldn't say advice, like, say put like information and knowledge out on social media, and I think that's brilliant. But I also think there has to be a personality there as well. Otherwise, what the fuck? Like, who is that attracting?
Okay, so how would you? Because you're obviously, how long have you been online coaching for?
We'll go 1.5 years.
That's brilliant.
Yep.
So how do you put across your personality?
I think I'm just very honest. I'm a very outspoken person.
Good.
Obviously with barriers as well, of course. But I'm never afraid to speak my mind. I'm always very honest with an opinion that I have. But I also just like, I'll just post me as well, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be very honest with stuff, and I don't overshare on social media.
That's a big one for me today.
Yeah, I don't overshare, but I also just don't like put no information out. I feel like there still has to be something there and some substance there. Like, I've shared bits of this prep, and it's purely because people, like, enjoy following along, right?
That is.
But then you also get the ones that overshare their preps, and it's just like, we don't need to know that they're literally day in and day out of your every single day life, because it's the exact same in prep, believe it or not, and people just try and make it look different than it actually is.
Yeah, I've actually recently taken a massive social media hiatus because I'll share this with you, but one thing I'm working on right now is a project. I'm in the process of writing a book.
Yeah, awesome.
Like a fictional book.
Wow.
And because it's something I've always wanted to do as well. And
why not?
The main thing as well that's helped a lot was just getting off social media.
Yeah.
Because I'm not telling anyone what to do. Neither are we. Who are we to judge? sometimes a lot lately when I get on social media, I'll see something from someone and I'm just like,
it's hard to shut your mouth, hey?
Yeah. And it would make me feel a feeling of annoyance or irritation. And it's not because I hate that person. It's just because of the whole idea. And I feel like there's much, much more benefit now to being just a little bit more confined, a little bit more mysterious.
Yep.
And another reason that add fuel to the fire was when I was away in Bali, I was off social media for a complete week, and then while I was writing, I thought to myself, holy shit, my thoughts are so fucking clear right now. They're
not influenced by anything.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So that, and the where I'm trying to go with this is with people, how it relates to people in their prep, is that they're like trying to show literally everything in their day, from the wake up to checking selfie to the food to the next thing to walking to the gym to every exercise to every set to every
literally everything.
And I'm like, how does your brain just not burn out from that?
Well, especially that, but like especially people that have jobs as well. Like, how are you fitting all this in?
As well.
But I just think also it's just like, for like lack of a better word, just do the work for yourself.
100%.
Don't do it for everyone else's approval or opinion or input. You know what I mean? Like, just do the work for yourself.
Correct. And to add on to that, I felt like if they're adding every single minor detail, I feel like they're just doing it for that reason.
I agree,
not for the actual
they're not doing it for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where I'm also trying to go with this is, have you ever heard of Ryan Holiday?
I think I know the name.
Yeah. So Ryan Holiday, he wrote a book called The Daily Stoic. He's written a whole bunch of books on Stoicism. Oh, great. He has this book called 365 Days, Stoic Meditations, all that sort of stuff. One of them, which is one of my favorite ones, is, I'm trying to get this right, which is Marcus Aurelius. He said, the simple act of one good deed deserves another. You shouldn't have to, if you have to tell someone, if you do something and then you feel compelled to tell them, you feel prepared to share them, then the deed itself is completely worthless.
It's not selfless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you do selfless stuff, that's what actually helps you build as a character and all that. So, anyway, that's just my 2 cents, really. I mean, but reverting back to the whole online stuff as well. Since we have parameters, like for me, I've always been like, okay, you should spend at least 2 years. I feel like you should have at least a qualification. So that's the big one. Of course. And the next one is you should have the patience. As well. And then the last one is you should never ever like stop trying to learn. That's the main one. So where I'm going with that is I took the whole online stage because I wanted to learn to at least just be a little bit better and all of that. What are your certain parameters? Do you believe that, should be a certain amount of years, should have a certain amount of qualification?
I think I agree with everything you're saying. I think a huge thing is just continue learning, no matter through like what, let's like say source that may be. I still think there should be something that you should always be trying to learn something new and always trying to upskilling, even if there's just a certain pathway, let's say in this world that you're really, really interested in. I think you should be going about that and just learn about it. Go all in on it, because then 5 years time you could, be one of these people that are, quite known for so-and-so. I still obviously think you should learn, a little bit of everything at least. But like, if there's something that you're really passionate, go down that route and learn all about it. Like, I think that's quite a huge thing. But I agree with you. I think you shouldn't be just one of them things that you couldn't jump in just because you have an Instagram following. I think you should, kind of pay your dues a little bit first.
Yeah, that's correct. And I've also said, well, we can relate to this as PTs as well, but like, if you think you're going to get far out of it solely off the basis of that you enjoy working out, that's for the wrong reasons.
I agree.
And here's the funniest thing as well. So there's a guy who I knew who has been a PT for years. He finally felt like he wanted to move on and pursue his own business in another venture, and I was super happy for him. And I said, what was your biggest change in perspective? He said, everyone who wants to get into the PT world, they say to themselves, oh, I do it because they want to help people, which is okay because that's a Jerry way to go. But they leave because of the people.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, And that's the main thing. So you have to have a very like thick skin again for those people.
I think so as well.
All cool. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about. Let's go back. Let's rewind the history books a little bit. Tell us about how did you end up becoming a PT? You said it was something you've always wanted to do, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely. Probably towards the end of high school, definitely something I wanted to do. I got into fitness in general. I had quite a bad eating disorder as a younger teenager.
Wow.
And mum kind of threw me into the gym. I'm not even sure how all that happened, how I agreed to it, but I think it was probably just forced. And that was just the best way that she knows how, and she'll take all the credit for that, and she deserves all the credit for that. So props there. And then I think from there, it was just a big snowball effect. I can't really remember anything past that other than just like, I just fell in love with it. And then I fell in love with obviously bodybuilding and that whole world. And I think towards the end of high school, probably that last year is when I decided that was something I wanted to do. Before that, I wanted to be like a graphic designer. So like I know the basics and can play around with that kind of stuff quite well. As obviously that's kind of a pathway I wanted to go down for quite a few years. But yeah, after that, and then after school, I went straight into TAFE to do my courses. And that was like a year. So it wasn't like the quick 12-week ones. Although I do feel like the information still isn't enough to what it should be.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
I still think that there's a very, very smart decision to do.
I think so as well.
Because in the past, I've been quite critical of those courses. And I've had PTs that have come to me and said, fuck, like it was like a 3-week course or a 4-week online course. And they actually step into the deep end. It's like they got through into a shark-infested water without a safety net or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Because the longer, I always say it's like the longer the better. Now, I'm also going to quote here. Have you ever heard of PT Mechanics?
Yes, I have.
Adam Becker. Shout out to Adam Becker, top G. He changed my perspective on the way I see it because it was like, he asked me this question. So how long does it take to come, do you reckon it takes to become a carpenter?
I think the standard apprenticeship would be like 3 years.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to become a doctor and all that?
Probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Close as you are.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is like, how long do you reckon it takes to complete those courses to become a PT?
Yeah, exactly. Fucking 12 weeks.
Less?
Yeah.
Less?
Not,
like,
10.
I said less. I said like, maybe I heard that like 6 weeks. He said, he took his to say some people get it done in 48 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, are you serious? Like some places you can go to, you pay the money.
It's all that matters, right?
If you already had the information, you're done in 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap. So the problem is with being a PT as well, and then they get into that world, and then they're 3 months in, and they're like, what the fuck? And then because, they feel like they've been thrown into a deep end and no one's guiding them. That's the main thing. And then they drop out and they lose so much money, and then it's hard because, and again, it's not, the people who do these courses, who run these courses, they're a business.
Of course.
They just, at the end of the day, they got to make their money and all that. So if it took 3 years to become a PT and all that, probably wouldn't be making as much money, wouldn't be as attractive.
100%, yeah.
So that's where this comes into play. Like, I feel like when it comes to PT, and again, in respect to your TAFE course, the longer you do the studying part, sometimes not always, but most of the time, the better.
Yeah, and like I said, I still think there should have been, I wouldn't say should have been, but there could have been way more information in that year, but it gave me a really solid base, and I learned the importance of obviously learning and upskilling, continuing upskilling after that as well. But like, and it's the same goes, like regardless of, I think, whether I did that, the TAFE or the 48-hour course instead. I still think even the year after that, obviously I qualified in that year, and then the year after that, I still like tried to run my business for a year and a half, and because I was so green and so young, like probably 18 years old at the time, like it flopped, right? Like I didn't have the knowledge, I probably didn't have the patience, I wasn't definitely not the person I am now. Didn't have the maturity for it, right? Yeah. And so like it's obviously such a large part of it, but I'm glad that I kept going and decided, and this was my passion and I wanted to keep on with it. But you also get a lot of people PTs that just come in and out of gyms. Like you work in a gym, you just the rotation is insane.
Insane, yeah. I always tell people, like, I'm not comparing it to war, but it's like I call it the phase when you're in a PT for the first year, at least you're in the trenches.
Yeah.
And you're taking grenades, you're taking shots, and because you're taking constant hits of clients dropping in, clients dropping out. You're taking hits of making this much money one week and then making fuck all the next week. Yeah. And you got to get used to that.
There's relentless consistency to be able to build a business like that.
Yeah, you got to run through those trenches. And then when you make it out, and then you're still going to hit it. Like, let's say, for example, I hit a period, even though I was doing this for 2 years, where I was like, I think it was about in January, February, March. It was so sweet. I was so happy, having more than 25 hours of contact time with clients, a few online clients. And it was such a sweet spot for me. And then you remember when we opened up the borders and everyone got COVID?
Yeah.
I lost 10 clients in the space of 2 weeks.
Wow.
I lost a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And then I had to and then I realized, you are never safe.
Yeah.
And the moment you get comfortable, that's when the shit comes for you.
100%.
But like you said, staying with it, and that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because always in industry, the ones of the people I've looked up to are usually the ones that have done it for the longest.
Yeah, and the ones that do it for the love of it as well.
Correct. So let's talk about your business and all that. So give us a little bit of insight to it. How do you come up with the name? What are you looking for?
The name is pretty simple. It's obviously just Team JMV Coaching. But I enjoy working with a wide variety of clients, and it's one of them things where I don't want to plug the business too much because it's like, for me, it's just like, I feel like everyone does that. But I do enjoy working with a lot of, I enjoy hearing people's journeys. I think that's why I enjoy PT so much, because you get such a wide variety of characters and different walks of life. And I just really enjoy learning about people as well. So as much as they get value from me for the sessions and learning and et cetera, and just learning about themselves and improving themselves, I also learn a lot from them as well. And I take away a lot from them. I take away a lot of value from the people that I work with. I'm very fortunate, obviously, like we said, like being consistent and being in the industry for a while, you can pick and choose your clients a little bit more now, right? For the most part.
For most parts, yeah.
I'm pretty lucky where I've been able to do that, especially on a PT front. And I've been able to pick and choose my clients a little bit. If I don't want to work with someone, I don't have to, right?
Okay, so do they, when they want to work with you, you do like a application, correct?
Wouldn't call it an application. I wouldn't really say someone applies to work with me. But it would be more so, do I think that is a good fit? But my thing is, do I think that they will put in the work? That's all I care about.
So
it doesn't matter what their goals are. It could be absolutely anything. It could be someone that's 140 kilos wanting to get to 100, or it could be someone that wants to start their prep for a bodybuilding competition. I've had like 2 of my clients start prep this past weekend for season A next year, and it's it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what they're wanting to achieve, but just as long as they're willing to put in the work for it.
Okay, so what are some like red flags for you then if they came to you?
They'll get quick. They get the results quick.
Get good quick.
Just the ones that want it now, because you know that they're not going to last.
Yeah.
It's a long game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, correct. Everyone thinks, I think it's so time-based as for a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them don't understand not what it takes, because I think it can be very simple and it can be very easy just to be fit and healthy, right? But you get a lot of these clients that get a lot of specific goals, and then they still expect these things to be quick and easy, or it can be just something that they only have to put in hard work for a short period of time, achieve that result, and that's it.
Yes.
And you'd obviously come across that before as well. It would just...
100%.
Yeah.
And I've always like, I've now come to realize why they're saying it. And I feel like there's a reasonable answer for saying it.
Of course.
Because everybody wants to get something quick. But the reason why everyone wants to get something quick is because people have come to this idea that you can achieve it quick.
Yeah.
So, and there's always come to this idea of like easy methods as well.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to obviously name drop or anything like that, but sometimes I see on ads for things like infomercials, or for like a shake or a pill, and then they'll show something in the way they advertise it. They'll say, this person lost 30 kilos in 2 months.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh wait, and it's just because of that as well. So they think, oh, if he did it just by doing that.
Oh, I can understand where people get it from, for sure.
Yeah.
I can understand where people get that idea from, and you can't throw shade at that because you can't shade to people who think that because it's marketed like that, right? And it's a shame because then I don't think people understand the hard work. And if someone wants to lose 50 kilos and get from 140, 150 kilos to 100, like it's gonna take some fucking hard work. Like, like I don't care who you are, like you're gonna have to be in the trenches a little bit for that, you know.
Understood. So obviously, for someone such as yourself, like with online going on and clients in the gym, and you know, how do you, and obviously getting ready for prep, like run me through like a typical week. Like, how do you sort of find balance to everything?
I'm pretty fortunate, like I said. I'm pretty fortunate, like I said, with work. For the most part, I only work like 2 nights a week, like doing PT, and the rest is mornings. I work like 6 mornings a week. I work Monday through Saturday, and then I work like a Tuesday and Friday night.
So you don't usually do split shifts, do you?
No, only on them 2 days.
Oh man, that's healthy. That's a respect.
It's good, but I also want my life to revolve around and mimic the life that I want, right? Like, and I want it to work around that. So the rest, obviously, like I have a good amount of online clients as well. So I'm actually able to do that, and able to fill my mornings and you know, have the afternoon, not to myself, but you know, I can get in what I need to get in. I can get especially in prep at the moment, obviously, can get my cardio done. I can get training done. I can get meal prep done. I can run to shops for more food if I need to get more food, et cetera, and make sure that I do have time to sit down on my laptop and do online work and do, you know, the life, you know?
Yeah, 100% really, because a lot of the hard thing is with PT starting out for the first time is that there's a scarcity to grab clients.
Yeah.
So they'll have this period where their whole schedule is completely open to them whenever, and then it's like a scattered schedule. Yeah. I've been told, like you have 3 clients in the morning, 4 clients in the evening one day, and then it's not consistent every week, and then they get sucked into that hole.
It becomes a big shit show as well, and then they have all these random clients everywhere, and they'll burn out as well. Yeah, I think you need to give yourself times.
Do you have certain expectations when it comes to your clients? Like, say, for example, do you just make sure that every client has to tick these boxes? Like, they have to be training at least a certain amount of times a week. They have to see me a certain amount, like once a week at least. Mm-hmm. Do you do like once a month, or you don't do like once every 3 weeks or anything like that?
Most of my clients that see me are usually more than once a week.
Really?
I have very few that are only once a week. Which is enjoyable because it almost means I can have like less clients, put more focus into them clients because I see them more. And it's, like I'm just make sure that all my clients are just ticking their boxes that they want to tick. And like life happens. They're not competitive bodybuilders. They're correct. They're just not, like, for a lot of them, they're just everyday people. Like, shit happens in life that is more important than them making it to the gym that day. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, that always happens, and I'm never going to get annoyed at them for that. Like, I'm not going to be like, well, you told me you trained 3 times this week. You only trained 2 because et cetera happened. Like, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, I have outlines and expectations for them to hit the goals that they want to hit. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Like, and also, do you, when it comes to your clients as well, do you have what was I going to say? Like, you obviously don't give them time frames and all that, but let's say if you have a client who's not meeting those expectations, like, what do you do?
I think we need to delve a little bit deeper into the reasoning why.
Okay, all right. Let's give you an example. You got one who's like starting to miss the sessions a little bit.
Yep.
You know, he's someone who's not been doing his check-in forms.
Yep.
Someone who's just like, you're starting to feel like a little bit lazy during the sessions. Like, what do you do? Like,
during the sessions that I'm with them?
Yeah. Do you like sort of like lay down the law? Like, hey man, I've noticed, I love you, man, but notice you're slacking a bit. What's going on here?
I think so one thing I really, really pride myself on, first of all, just to add on to that, to start off with, I have really, really good relationships with all my clients. I'm a very open person. I'm an absolute open book. You can ask me anything and I'll answer it. Even after this podcast, you can ask me absolutely anything and I'll answer it just absolutely truthfully. I own who I am and I am who I am. And my clients see that and it translates. So I get a lot of that back because I give that energy out, that like, it's okay to speak about anything. I'm an open book. They can ask me anything. I'll often get a lot of that back. So a lot of the times, if it's something like that, it could be anything. It could be just the fact that they are getting lazy, of course. But I find my way around that conversation, and I play it very, very carefully, of course, because obviously it's a conversation that's easier to have in person than it is online. It's not something that you kind of just want to message someone being like, hey, your session was really shit today with me. What's going on? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't translate that kind of thing over online. It has to be an in-person conversation, I think, for the most part. Especially obviously if it's a face-to-face client. But you kind of just delve a little bit deeper into it, and it could be anything. It could be just I always try and dig a little bit if I can, but I also know when to pull back if it's not the right time to dig. But it could be obviously anything. It could be personal, that they've got something going on in their life that they're just not speaking about or not dealing with. Or like I said, it just could be because they're lazy, but you never know.
Awesome. So it's great that you're an open book and all that. That lead me to want to ask, relationships with clients is probably one of the most important things as well. How do you build that sort of like relationship with someone if you've just seen him, like you've never seen him in person, but it's just online?
I think, again, because of the personality that I put out on social media, and I think because when they chat to me one-on-one, they tend to get to know me a little bit. I'll always send voice messages as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm obviously message them as well, but I'll send voice messages often as well, because then I feel like actually hearing someone's voice, it just makes a little bit of a difference. I think it's a little bit more personable. It's they're just not sending a message on the fly kind of thing. Like, you're actually taking the time to talk to them.
Never thought about that. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make a lot. Actually, I see your point with that as well. So when you talk also about like being an open book and like putting yourself out there as much when you can on social media, do you have like a structure?
In terms of social media?
In terms of social media, yeah. No, not at all. You just free for it?
I think like usually I was doing until as of recent, every third post I was doing was a client post, like a client transformation or something like that, and a little write-up about the client. As prep gets closer and the show gets closer, I've been kind of like scaling back on that a little bit and kind of just putting them on my stories or just straight up on the business page. Just for like more selfish reasons, obviously, as well. Like, people enjoy prep. It gets exciting the leaner you get and the closer you get to a show. People like enjoy seeing that kind of content as well. But obviously my business page is always there. But no, I don't have a structure. I've tried it before. I've tried multiple structures, and I just don't.
Like, what have you tried?
Just different ways of doing things. Like, I'm going to do an educational post on this every third post, or et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like for the most part, it doesn't work for me, and it doesn't. I don't know if I just haven't found the right structure yet, but it just doesn't suit me as a person, if that makes sense. I'm just a very I do things as I do them. In the best way possible, in the fact that like I think just because I am who I am, like, it just works in that way.
Yeah.
I don't like having like a super set routine like structure with social media, because it doesn't translate who I am to that.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I feel like, when it goes back to the whole online world, they have to keep constantly shoving content down.
That's what I mean, and that's why I said like people just, it looks the same.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep shoving my client content down someone's throat.
Because when there's like because I got to a point where I was just posting when I was, one thing I actually did a lot of was I posted a lot of reels.
Yep.
And I actually enjoyed making those reels.
They're fun. Yeah.
They are fun.
Yeah.
But because when it came to, and I tell people, when it comes to posting content, if you're a PT and all that, yes, the market is one way, but you yourself has physically got to enjoy this.
100%.
And if you're someone who's quite a private person and it fucking like you have to roll your eyes.
You can tell.
Then when you're typing up a massive overpost, I say just don't bother. Don't bother.
No.
Because if you're someone who just enjoys like posting funny videos or posting workout videos, go ahead and fucking do it if you enjoy it that much. But if you put out content you hate to put out for the sake of trying to get more of something, it kind of kills the soul.
I agree, and I think that's when my business has done best, is when I've just been myself and just done my thing, on social media and all that stuff, and posted what I wanted to post. And oftentimes that is something that's a bit more educational, or it might just be like something that's like a quote that I've heard that day. I'll chuck out my story, or like so and so, or I'll just jump on my stories just to chat shit about something. And it can be absolutely anything as well. Like, one person I have to give credit to that's been putting up really good educational content, and it's just such a simple format. It's actually just a white background with his face, and then the information that's there would be Richard. Richard Physique Code, and obviously like you've seen.
He's come on the podcast before.
Yeah, I thought he had, but like his information is just so quality. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the simplest format of just a white fucking background with his logo there and the actual information. But like, I think it gets so much engagement because it's so simple, and you can tell that he actually just enjoys putting out educational content.
He's been doing it forever, though.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the main, and that's the good, and that's the part that I also respect the most about him. And he said it to me like, I asked him that, how do you make everything feel so simple? He says, well, it was because you got to give it to, well, he's like, I'm not trying to sound, he said, and he's like, I'm not trying to sound smart.
Yeah, and he's not trying to sell himself.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can tell he's putting it out information because he wants to put it out.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem forced. Like absolutely, big shout out to him, big love, because if he doesn't post something for 5 days, he doesn't post something for 5 days. He might post like 3 days consecutively. Do you know what I mean? And it's just this format that obviously works for him. Yeah. It's not going to work for everyone, but it works for him because he enjoys it, and what he's putting out, he actually enjoys putting out.
Good. Anyway, man, sorry I got to cut short there. That's the time we have up in the room right now. Good, but let's just cap this off.
Yep.
But first by saying, so guys, if you want to follow Josh, you can follow Josh on, just drop your handle.
Josh M. Birch on Instagram.
Awesome. And your business page, please?
Team JMB Coaching.
All cool. Now, if they want to work with you, which one would they rather them go to?
Just go either or. Doesn't matter.
All cool. And is there any other ways they can contact you as well?
I'd say that's my main, pretty much the one that I'm always on the most. So
brilliant. And you will be competing on what date?
22nd of October at the Regal Theatre in Subiaco.
Brilliant. All right. That is all the time we have for today. Josh, thank you very much for joining me, man.
It is, man. Absolutely. My pleasure.
And hopefully we'll get you back on once the competition's over.
It'll be fun. We can chat about it.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. And that is game.